I almost brainwashed myself into thinking I wanted to be an astronaut, which is a really cool thing.
Pretty cool.
I was so focused on this goal that I didn't really give myself space to think about whether this was really what I wanted. And there are so many people who are so smart and talented and have passion for becoming astronauts.
Right.
And when I got into my aerospace engineering classes, I realized that that's not me. I knew from 4 years old that I wanted to be in the circus, I wanted to be a performer and climb and fly and swing.
I mean, you could have been anything, and look who you've become. My guest today is an aspiring superhero, a bona fide Hollywood action star, a stunt performer, a martial artist, American Ninja Warrior, and all-around beast of an athlete, Jessie Graff. Jessie, it's an absolute thrill to have you here. I'm so excited. Now, before we power up technically, I want to get into your past a little bit.
Okay.
Now, when you were a wee gal, you just wanted to fly and you wanted to soar, which is kind of amazing. Like, how did all that start? I mean, you could have been anything, and look who you've become.
Oh, thank you. I basically, as a tiny little kid, I was shy. I hid under tables and behind my mom's skirt and wouldn't speak to anyone, really.
Wow.
Until I saw the circus when I was 4. And it was the people on the flying trapeze that I saw, and I was like, I need to do that. Dad, we have to ask the ringmaster if I can do that. And he, like, you can't ask the ringmaster at a circus if your 4-year-old can do the trapeze. But I didn't speak to anyone, so he was like, okay, safe bet. You know what? If you want to talk to him, the only way he would let you do it is if you ask him yourself. Well, I said, okay, and I toddled down the stairs on a mission, and I asked him if I could fly, and he said, no, of course. And I cried, and my parents were like, oh my gosh, we have to get this kid into circus classes.
Wow.
So I took classes starting when I was 6 and fell in love with the trapeze, and it brought me out of my shell. It made me want to ask questions and learn and train, and that's where I made all my first real friends.
That's amazing. How does that translate to who you are now?
Well, honestly, I feel like that was the first time that I really have been impacted by peer pressure, although it was teachers' pressure. I knew from 4 years old that I wanted to be in the circus. I wanted to be a performer and climb and fly and swing. And I think it was in 7th or 8th grade, we took these aptitude tests, and I did well on the science and math. And the teachers, rightfully so, told me, like, hey, you're doing really well in these areas. Maybe you should find something as a career path that you could apply your brain to. I was like, well, I'm stuck here in school anyway. Like, what could I really get into? And I was like, well, I want to float around in space. That could be fun.
Right.
And so I decided, I almost brainwashed myself into thinking I wanted to be an astronaut, which is a really cool thing.
Pretty cool.
And I took all the physics, college level physics, calculus 1, 2, and 3, all in high school. Got into Georgia Tech, majored in aerospace engineering. And the thing was, I was so focused on this goal that I didn't really give myself space to think about whether this was really what I wanted. And there are so many people who are so smart and talented and have passion for becoming astronauts.
Right.
And when I got into my aerospace engineering classes, I realized that that's not me.
No kidding.
I want to fly around in this, I want to fly free.
You want to fly on Earth, not out in space. Yeah.
I mean, space would be awesome, but I'm not a pilot. I don't want to build airplanes. I'm not necessarily going to study plant life on Mars, although that sounds really cool. I don't have the passion that the people who need to do that have.
This stuff.
It's high impact.
High impact. I mean, you look at our hands. Yours look pretty good, I got to say.
They miraculously heal very well.
Yeah, mine do. I haven't got a flapper in a couple years, so knock on wood.
Ooh, that's very impressive.
If you don't know what a flapper is, if you're grabbing and reaching and pulling and whatever, and you're focusing so much, you don't notice that the skin is coming off your hands.
Yeah, they pour blood.
Yes. We had to bleach this because there's blood everywhere on this thing. Well, we'll probably ask more questions along the way, but you want to rock and roll and get going on something? Now, I'm going to explain everything to you. I'm going to explain something to everybody here. You've been here before at my house on Ninja. And one of the things that we do a lot. We climb ropes and there's parallel bar stuff. We do 4-ball, med ball push-ups and things called impossibles. But we come down here because this is really our most favorite section of our Sunday workout. And one of the moves is called Ninja One. And Ninja One, which I believe Jessie's going to demonstrate, and I'm going to see how far I get in Ninja 1 as well, because I guess I have to participate. You're right. Let's see what an old man can do. But it'll be fun to watch you because you're so skilled and you're so precise and you're so smooth in the way you move. Me, I'm like a Tasmanian devil going through a china shop on this thing. So I'm gonna watch you first.
Okay.
And then we'll get going. Hey everybody, well, I guess it is time for Jessie Graff to power up. Now we're on the Ninja course, and this particular sequence we call Ninja 2. Which means she's going to be up there a long time doing a lot of hard things, okay? I'll be doing Ninja 1, which is a little bit easier for me. And just to make it interesting for Jessie, I have a series of questions here that I'll be asking her along the way, just to kind of show her skill level that she can actually walk and chew gum, or I should say fly and answer questions at the same time.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
All right.
I'll do my best.
Anytime you're ready,
Okay.
rock and roll. So Jessie's going to move back and forth here, and then we're going to move these little ball numbers here. So as you can see, maybe you can or not, she's straddling the poles with her index finger and middle finger, and now the little red balls that she's on right now spin.
Yeah, they're super spinny.
Aren't they super spinny? I'm going to ask you a question. You ready? This is the rapid fire. What's your favorite? Who's your favorite martial artist?
Jackie Chan.
Jackie Chan,
sure.
Very nice. Now there's hard and easy version of that. She's on those red little knobs, which is just fingers, over to the triangle, and now little shakeout, staying strong,
Pacing
and she's
myself.
reaching the back side of that little that's hard. Off to the cones, and she has the option to either go to the rings, which she's going to do. Now look at this technique. This is not a technique that I can do. This is a pure ninja superstar move. And you can see how quiet, easy that is. Hey, I got another question.
Yeah?
What's your favorite swear word?
Snag it.
Snag it?
I'm not good at swearing. I sound like an 8-year-old trying to be cool.
Oh, well, I must be an 8-year-old then for sure.
You can pull it off way
Thank you.
better than I can.
What's your favorite sport?
Free running.
Free running. Very
I did
cool.
it.
Nice. The whole thing. Are you going to keep going or are you going to be done?
Yeah, let's see
Oh,
how much farther I can go.
That is impressive.
I don't think it's much farther.
Who's your favorite team?
Team Tempest.
Oh, who's your favorite player?
Lucy Romberg.
Oh, wow. That, ladies and gentlemen, is Ninja 2.
That was farther than my last one.
Yes. And that's a long way, right? That's all grip, 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 grip. And she went further than most of us ever go on.
I was inefficient in like 2 spots.
Really, where? Where were you? What'd you say?
Right here, I did extra moves, and I kind of tripped on that.
See, the hardest transition for me is getting from those red balls to those swinging balls. That is just.
It's all about popping your right hip.
See, that's still a mystery to me. Oh my gosh. Well done. Jessie Graff, everybody! Da, 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 da. She is strong and she is really awesome. So let me get this straight. Aerospace, calculus, thinking, outer space, but then you decided, nope, I'm going to make a switcheroo based on who you really were, what was in your soul. Mm-hmm. Like, what was that little transition like? And what was it like having to tell people, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. I want to go over here and I want to fly with the greatest of ease.
I mean, it honestly just made sense to everyone who knew me.
Oh,
They were like,
yeah.
oh, yep, okay, that makes sense. The people who didn't know me thought it was a very strange choice. Like, you tell someone you're going to be a superhero, and they're like, uh-huh.
Yeah, like that's the thing.
Cool,
you know
buddy.
what I mean? Yeah. So then you were in theater first.
Yes, I mean, before I moved to LA to do stunts, I majored in theater. I found it actually way more challenging than my engineering classes because I was used to studying in a certain way. There's a formula and you do the formula and you get the right answer. And so in my theater classes, I was too rehearsed. I would plan every little detail and do it exactly the same every time.
Well, Spielberg would love you because that's how he does. Like, he gives you line readings. Not that I would know. Just what I've heard. Rumors have said.
Okay, I'm available.
Yeah. Steven, she's available. It's interesting because you and I have similar paths, except for the aerospace engineering. My goal was to try to get up by 11 o'clock and get anything, slightly better than a C minus. So I was not a great student by any means, but we both had that acting bug early on. Now, when I first started out, I was smoking weed and eating double cheese chimichangas and going to acting classes and improv classes and cold reading classes and doing stand up and all that stuff. That's how I started. But the reason I bring that up is when I came to town, that's what my focus was, and I would play some, pick up basketball or football and I wouldn't really train until I discovered, these gyms. And so I was just working out for aesthetic purposes. That was my thing. It wasn't about being able to physically do anything. Mm-hmm. So for you, when you were in theater, what was your fitness regime like? What were you doing in conjunction with the acting?
Well, I had gone to college on a pole vaulting scholarship.
Oh.
So I was training. I think we had about an hour of weight training in the morning before classes, and then we'd start pole vault practice around probably 2 to 4-ish, I think. But then I'd sneak into the gymnastics room and train with the gymnasts for another hour or two.
So that was not your... You were just sneaking and kind of like, hey, the pole vaulting's done. I'm going to go hang out with these folks. Is that kind of how it went?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't competing in gymnastics, but I have a bad habit of overtraining, which at that time I didn't realize was an issue. But
right.
But I love playing. I love climbing and swinging, and I want to be able to do all the tricks.
Right,
so I just trained with everyone.
Now, I'm going to backtrack a little bit because you and I have somebody in common, Drea Weber. Now, I met Drea Weber. I know. I mean, how can you not? The butterflies with Drea. She's fabulous. For those of you who don't know who Drea is, she's an aerialist as well. She's brilliant on silks. She's also a choreographer. She's worked for Cher and Pink and so many tours, Prince and others. This Drea gal is just a rock star. Tell us about, your relationship and how you met her and how she started, maybe part of your, the reason why she started your career.
Yeah. Well, after my circus classes, when I was a little kid, I got into competitive gymnastics. I went to gymnastics camp, international gymnastics camp in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania. And my first day there, I got to take a class on the flying trapeze. And everyone at camp, you'd only get one class. It was 1 hour. There were 30 kids. You basically get 2 turns on the trapeze. And I was lucky enough to have this in the first session on the first day. And I just my heart dropped. It was just like I'd seen in the circus when I was 4, and I was I was starstruck with the thing. Like they were flying.
The apparatus.
And it was Drea. She was up there flying, and I was like, this is the thing. Wow. And so we did the class. I got up to the 25-foot platform. I was 10, just looking down, and
oh my gosh.
I had the butterflies, and I was in love with it. And so at the end of the class, I was still super shy. I don't remember what I said, but I think I just waited on the bench and watched the next 2 classes and asked Drea if I could demonstrate for the next class. And she took pity on me. It's like, sure, go ahead.
All right, this is Ninja 1. Here I come.
Nice. Great rhythm.
Thank you very much.
Nice. Aim those knees. Use them for the pop. Good reverse grab. Tony, what's your favorite exercise?
This.
Yes, me too.
Right?
Yeah. What's your least favorite?
I would say cardio. I only do cardio because I have to. You know what I mean?
It can be pretty boring.
Yeah, a little bit, but I try to create some variety, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah. What has been the most entertaining cardio that you've come up with?
I like the slide board lately. And hitting the heavy bag. I'm gonna need that up there.
Yeah, keep moving. Heavy bag, yeah, that's a favorite for me too. Are you a kicker or a puncher?
I'm more of a puncher.
Who's your favorite fight style?
I don't have one. Surviving, I think.
Yes. Priority number 1. Don't die.
Hello, triangle. That I need to do, right? And then just for some pizzazz.
Yeah.
Mild applause.
Nice.
You so rock.
Ah, thanks.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing. And that, I will tell you, and I will tell you, I've messed up that transition every time. And what you showed me, you know what I mean? Like,
It's all momentum.
it's all momentum.
And you know who taught me momentum?
Drea Weber.
Drea Weber.
Drea Weber. And the reason why I wanted to bring Drea up, because when you were a little kid and you were in the audience and you were watching the flying trapeze and you're with your dad, you know what I mean? That was sort of, you weren't directly connected to those people. You didn't have a relationship with those people. But you knew what you wanted based on what you saw, which was, like, ding, check that box. But having a person like that who was mentoring you and coaching you and you were one-on-one with that person, like that, that's just awesome at a young age. See, I never got that really. I never had that coach that said, hey man, I see potential in you. Let me share what I know. For me, everything was self-taught later in life. Just purely based on the fact that I was kind of a pudgy actor that wasn't working. And my agent said, you need to be less pudgy, buddy. And so then I just started going to the gym to look better. And then it was later, like my whole thing, all this stuff, this all came in my 40s. I'm 63 now. So I'm just glad it came. What do you think? What do you see in your future, your near future, next 2 or 3 years?
I'm working on designing a strength training sort of foundation building program for ninjas. I think ninjas tend to like playing on obstacles, but don't necessarily have a foundation to stay balanced and prevent injury. I've experienced that firsthand. So,
right.
So I'm
From
doing a lot of
experience,
studying.
you're like, how can I get people out of pain? How can I get people prepared? The thing that blows my mind the most, because you're so skilled in so many ways. I mean, a lot of people know you from, American Ninja Warrior but the stunt work that you do, like, first of all, how did you get into stunt work? Question 2 would be, what was your first time on a set? I mean, that's, 1 minute you're not a stunt person, and then they find you, and then you are a stunt person, and then you have to go do that stunt. Like, tell me about that experience.
Well, that's a long transition.
Well, that wasn't like 3.5 days?
Not quite.
Right.
Kind of. But let's see. So I was majoring in theater, and I went to meet an agent in Washington, D.C. My mom has an agent there, or had an agent there. And so I took the train. I brought my resume. I accidentally gave her my resume for the circus that I'd made when I was in high school without realizing it. And so she looked at it and was like, what is this? Do you even act? Why are you here? Here, call this stunt guy. And she shoved me out of the office and I was just like,
wow.
Stunts.
Of
course.
You brought the wrong resume and now you're a stunt woman.
And I was like, but it hadn't occurred to me that like, if I'm playing an action hero in a movie, that I wouldn't get to do the stunts. Like, well, wait a second. What's most important to me here? And so I called this guy, his name is Johnny Becker. I called him from the sidewalk outside the agent's office. He happened to be 2 blocks away, towing a car with a tow truck. And he was like, sure, let me give you a ride home. And he had dinner with my family and explained the whole process to me. There was a magazine called Inside Stunts where I got to read about all the legendary stuntmen and stunt women. And he taught me how to make a headshot and a resume and what to put on your reel and all this stuff. So my last year of college, I had all that information and I started studying like crazy. So my first job, I actually came to LA for Christmas break just to network, to meet people. So yeah, I actually came out for a weekend to see the Tourist World Stunt Awards and was just like, oh my gosh, this is my
what
niche.
awards?
The Tourist World Stunt Awards. So every year people get nominated for the best high work, the best fight scene, the best vehicle work, best stunt by a stunt woman. And they had like, the presenters would jump out of a helicopter onto the stage and then bring over the winner for the best high work. It was just like...
How'd you get that invite? How did you even get to that award ceremony?
Well, it was this guy, Johnny Becker, who had an extra ticket. So I went out for the weekend. I met a few people. I kept a binder of everyone I met with all their headshots and notes on what we talked about and just kept building that while I was in school. And so I took Christmas break and house sat for one of the guys I met then. His name's Bill Lehman, amazing guy, and went to Bob Yerkes's backyard. Circus equipment, of course. So he had a flying trapeze. So I got to hop up and be like, hey, I have skills. I can do things. And I learned how to do fights and high falls. And they had this airbag and a ladder that just goes 70 feet straight up. And you put a little platform. So you stand up, you go like this. And then
like a high diving platform
just
almost.
Like a high diving platform, but you land flat on your back. And I met some people.
And did you have any
week.
fear the first time you climbed up 70 feet and jumped into a bag?
Well, they don't let you go to 70 feet your first time.
Okay. I'd go like 10 feet to do it.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's advised. Start low, build up slowly.
Yeah.
Make sure you know how to land comfortably in the right position.
Right.
And so I was doing probably 30, 40 feet in the first week because I did high diving and trapeze and everything. So I'm very comfortable landing flat on my back from weird positions in the sky.
Yeah.
And so
my old job. True.
So the guy that I met then, Bill Lehman, he heard that they were looking for a girl my size to do a non-union film falling backwards off of a 50-foot building at night. And they couldn't find a non-union girl because, like, once you're training with all the right people, you get in the union, you're working, and it's hard to find someone who has that skill.
Who's non-union.
Right. And so they asked if I was available, and it happened to be my spring break. So I came out for this job and got to do my first big stunt while I was still in college.
Wow. And what was it for?
Here.
What was the commercial or movie or TV show?
It was a movie called The Ghost of the Black Dahlia. So I had to, she's scared, she thinks there's a ghost. She just backs up and then falls in the dark.
Dang.
It was really exciting because that was at the time my highest fall.
Wow. Wow. What would you say is the coolest stunt that you've ever done? Like, just, dang, that was just badass.
I think my two favorites were when they dropped a 30-foot circus ladder out of a helicopter on the beach, and I got to just like grab the ladder and get pulled up into the sky and climb into the helicopter.
Not wires? No wires?
There was a wire.
Oh, whatever.
I know. It was like, fine.
Yeah.
Safety first.
Safety first.
No, I appreciate safety. We were over the ocean, so I was like, I'll be fine, guys.
Yeah, I'll just tuck.
But we played it safe.
Good.
And then the other one was on leverage. I got to jump off of a 36-foot bridge onto a moving train. And it was the most fun ever.
Wire?
And it was like, no wire.
What's happening?
there were mats on the roof of the train. That they CGI'd out. But I was jumping with this guy, Austin Priester, who's a Green Beret, and we had to go at the same time. So he would drop straight down and I would jump out. But of course, there's space between the cars and there's only one that has the mat. So we'd have to time it. So it's like when there's the gap right under you, you have to jump like you're aiming for the gap, and then it would drop and you land on the
How
mat.
fast was the train going?
8 to 12 miles per hour is what they said. But we did, and this was like the engineering, we had sandbags, and so we'd stand there and he would drop his and I would toss mine and make sure we hit our marks.
Boom, and that sandbags was how you judged it.
Yeah, and so we got to throw our bags 3 times before they were like, okay, you guys ready?
So that leads me to my next question, and I think I might have just heard the answer, but I could be wrong. What was the scariest? Like, oh my gosh, this is, I gotta
No, that one was like, it's a little scary because the consequences are high, but it was also in my my comfort zone of like, I'm very comfortable at that height. I love timing things. I love the physics of pendulums. Like we used to calculate that in my physics classes. If you drop something from this high, how many seconds before it hits the ground? When I jump off, when I cliff dive, I count in my head. 1, 2. That's like a 40-foot fall. So I know the 1, 2, 3. It's like 2.5, 2 3/4.
That's But gravity's intense. Yeah, I jumped
9.8 meters per second squared. Yeah,
I jumped out of a Chinook once in Hawaii. Yeah, you know how they open up in the back. I mean, I was with the Golden Knights. And I was attached to a guy. We backflipped out, which was whatever. But it's just kind of. But the amazing thing was the people that went ahead of me. Like I didn't know what you know. So I assumed that she would disappear like this, right? Like that would be in my mind. But it was like gone. Like she left, and then she was an ant. Like she was shot out of a gun. And then when I did the backflip, literally, I looked up, and the Chinook was this big. I mean, there's this huge thing, both props, and I look, and I half a flip, and it's that big. I'm thinking, we're going so fast.
Very fast, yeah.
So what was the? Is there a scariest one for you where you were just like, dang, man, this is going to be tricky?
Okay, 2 different things. Scariest moment was actually skydiving when a completely inexperienced guy got a little out of control, plowed into my canopy. I flipped upside down, got tangled, and started plummeting at 1,000 feet which is like when you start your landing pattern. So I had to like release my main parachute, pull the reserve, and it opened at like between 500 and 600 feet, and then I landed, and it was just like.
With your reserve, can you pull on? You have cords to pull on to slow
it's
that
not
thing
as
down?
good, I think,
Okay.
but it was fine. It was a very smooth landing. I just landed and started trembling everywhere. So that's the most scared I've been. But it was also like I was only scared after. In the moment,
you're working on figuring it out.
it was and there wasn't much time. There was like, I think it all happened in maybe half a second of, do I have time for the reserve to open? Doesn't matter. This one's closed. Grab, pull,
Right.
and then settling.
Right.
But the coolest thing about that experience is like you never really know how you're going to react in like an absolute emergency until you're there. And that was like the highest stakes, shortest amount of processing time. And I was so proud of myself for doing exactly what I should have done.
Right.
So one of my favorite accomplishments, maybe I would say, not dying.
Well, I don't know,
Really
I don't know if anybody at home, or if you've ever read The Rise of Superman. I forget the author, but it talks
the flow state, right?
Yes.
Yes.
It's talking about finding yourself in these circumstances in which it's kind of life or death or tremendous injury or not, and how your mind and brain slow everything down, even though it's happening like this, so that you pull it off. Like Laird Hamilton on these giant waves is pretty good at coming up with moves like, I've never seen that move before, because he was trying not to die, you know what I mean? Right? But
Don't die.
In which, to some degree, there's some of that going to be happening here. I mean, we know this course, but for super fit people to show up here and you're figuring it out, you're so present, trying to figure out, where does my hand go? How hard do I have to squeeze? How much time do I have? I'm fatiguing along the way, right? The time under tension is going to be for a while. So, oh, that's more comfortable. That's going to be really hard. Where do I put my hands? It's just like kind of that surviving in the moment, which is really fun about this.
Yes.
And what you do, you're like triple next level. So the parachute, is there another one that was?
Well, that was not an official stunt. That was just a
scary moment.
A training incident.
Right. Right.
Scariest stunt, I'd say, was on a show called Future Man. And luckily we had time to rehearse, time to plan. It was equipment that I was familiar with, but it's called an air ram, and it's like a little human catapult. It's about this big, and it just compressed air tank. You hit a button, and it launches you. They can launch
so
you.
You use them in movies where like a bomb blows off and guys are flying through the air.
Exactly, yeah. And so if you step on it wrong, it can break your leg or anything. People smash their faces like crazy on these things. And so I was supposed to stand on this thing, and I had the button to hit myself, which was nice. But a girl kicks me in the stomach, and so I have to hit the button like I've been hit through a tempered glass window to a marble floor. So there was a metal bar. No mat.
CGI the floor?
No, they had to see me hit the floor among all the shards of glass. But
candy glass.
There's tempered glass.
Oh, wow.
So there was a guy on the button to break the glass. So if the timing is off, if he doesn't hit the glass, I'm smashing into the tempered glass that might not break. My angle had to be perfect, because if I was too low, I was going to smack my heels on the metal bar. If I was too high, I was going to smack my head on the metal bar, because it was a 6.5 foot opening. So I had to make sure I was at the right angle to go the right way, fold immediately so that I fit through. And then, so priority 1, don't get a concussion. Priority 2, don't smack your heels. Priority 3, don't get a concussion on the floor, and don't break your tailbone. So
and it's not like you rehearse that. You can't rehearse that.
Not with the glass, no. You have to 100% trust that the effects guy is going to hit the button at the right time. There's nothing I can do about that. So my focus had to be on the timing. So I would stand against the wall and go 3, 2, 1. So it's like I had to have the timing perfectly of my knees bending and starting to extend at the right angle and hit the button. So I would just drill that timing of my legs and the button just leaning to a wall. Because the one thing I can control is my body position, my timing. And so drilling that over and over. My solution to fear is just find all the details. What are all the technical details that you can do to prevent the bad result that you're afraid of. And once you take all of those actions and focus on those actions, one, you don't have space for fear because you're focused on something else. And two, you're less likely to have a problem because you're focusing on all the right things. It went perfectly. I
was going to ask.
don't think I even got a bruise. I think I got like little scrapes or scratches.
Yeah. What an amazing journey you've had so far. I mean, absolutely incredible. And it's been such a pleasure getting to know you and hanging out with you and watching you do things with the greatest of ease, where I have a tendency to be more of a flailer. But
we all start out flailing.
everybody, now it is time for us to get busy on the apparatus. And did you want to try something else?
Yeah, I was just gonna see how smooth I could get this.
All right.
So now I'm thinking, once I grab that, if I can pull back more, so I pull the board
Treat
to
that
me,
as a swing
then I'm already set to go to the triangle and I don't have to spend the time there.
instead of just hanging on it.
Right, back and forth.
Right.
So let's see how quickly or smoothly.
Oh, swing-a-ding-ding. There it is. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you look at her. That's called Lockoff Strength. You see how she's able to transition from one to the next by keeping, she's basically for a second hanging on with one arm with a bent arm, and then the variety. See, now you're just relaxed, right? You're hanging out. Can you talk to, because this is just me getting some inside information, okay? When you decide, when do you hang and when do you lock off, like in those transitions?
It depends.
Does a lot of it have to do like when you're fatigued, or how's that go?
It depends. If I need precision, like if I have to grab around the eye bolt,
Right.
it's a lot easier to see and control when I'm locked
When
off.
you're up here. Right.
These are harder on the grip if you look at the angle, holding like this versus here, the angle of your wrist. So I never want to hang from nunchucks extended.
You want to be locked off, at least a little locked off.
Yeah. So when your arms are bent like this, it usually makes it easier on your grip. When you're extended, you're totally resting your biceps.
Right.
So I try to save my biceps for the ones that I'll need it. But you can also move faster. You can go 1, 2.
Oh, you're in here.
One,
Boom,
two.
boom, boom. Yeah.
But you can only take small steps.
Right.
Whereas if you're hanging full extension, you probably go from the ball to the board.
Wow. Now, one of the number one questions I get, and this is for a lot of folks who are watching us who are fans of either one of us, right? Now, lock-off strength, especially on the pegboard, we've been on the pegboard a bunch, that's lock-off the whole way. Until you get tired, then you do that little swing rock to rock where you can kind of do it. What is, in your opinion, the best way to build, other than doing this as much as possible, but for the average person who doesn't have all this stuff, doesn't have a pegboard like we do, what's the best way, in your opinion, to build lock-off strength?
Just do them.
Yeah?
Just jump up on anything. Regular chin-up bar.
Yeah.
Hold it. Shift to one side. Shift to the other.
Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Yes. Wow.
We're on
Just
a set
little
of rings.
set of rings.
TRX
I want to try that.
rings,
I want to
you know?
try it. I want to try that. Little leg
It's
go.
kind of awkward on there. Just watch your head on the
Yeah.
on the truss, or even on the rings. And you can use just
Oh, gosh. Yeah,
use fingertips. Go to one, hold it.
You're very strong. Well, that was fun down here on the Ninja course. I'm going to have to work on that, I think. But that's a great tip. And
It was
I know,
a big improvement, actually.
Yeah, really. And that transition was money. Now, next Sunday when the kids are here, Horton, how'd you figure that out? I don't know. I just
made it
a
up.
little help from my friend. Now, we're going to transition to something, and I haven't told you what this is. It's kind of a secret. It's very different than what we just did.
Are we digging?
Digging? Yeah, we're
Just guessing.
We're going to dig a ditch. Yeah, that would be very different. We're not going to dig a ditch.
Okay.
It's going to be slightly cooler than that. And I'll give you this much. It involves very sharp objects. So that's all I'm going to give away. Here we go. Check this out. Here we are at our axe throwing area because, who doesn't have one of these? This all started when I go to Jackson Hole a lot, and there's this cool little store that sells axes and knives and flashlights and really cool stuff. So here's what we're gonna do. We have a classic old school tomahawk, and this is a throwing axe. And I'm gonna take one of each, and Jessie's gonna take one of each, and we're just gonna start throwing axes and see what happens. That, my friends, is a fiver.
Yes. Ooh.
You are just refusing to go in. Rats!
Snag it.
Yeah, there you go. Boom.
One.
That aiming
Take
thing,
it.
and then just cocking the elbow and tossing, simple. Wow. You going for the 10 up there?
Yes. That's definitely what I was intentionally doing.
Knew it. Ooh.
I was going for the 20.
You were going to cut some weeds down there. Yeah. 3 out of 4.
3, yeah.
I think that's a lovely way to finish. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. A little extra bonus target throwing with the axes. You don't see that every day. Little ninja, little axe throwing. Awesome. Well, there you have it, boys and girls. Threw some axes. And as you can see, Jessie's last batch, she got 2 7s, a 5, and a 10.
Totally happened.
Just totally happened. Yeah. We'd be out here for 3.5 weeks trying to get that little combination. But that was fun today. Everything about that was fun. It's so great to learn from you and to just experience. You're a craftsman. You're like an artist.
Thank you.
Honestly, I'm not messing around there. I'm serious. It's just.
Well, I've been growing a lot from your workouts. So thank you.
That's not real. Not just by doing cardio and resistance training, which is great, right? I mean, that's all the programs I've done in the past. Now we're climbing. We're on ropes and ninja courses and pegboards, and that's just there's a skill factor and a fun factor that you don't get inside sometimes. So thanks for sharing your skills.
Thank
and
you.
everything you do so dang well. So there you go, everybody. Tony Horton with Jessie Graff. I'm glad that you've really enjoyed this interview. I can tell because you're watching it, because I can see you. Anyway, since you're here, I know you're really going to fall madly in love with this next one. I mean, I'm talking about knowledge consumed by you. All you got to do is go right over there